Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co-host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. We are where podcasts can be found. And if you're more of a YouTube person, give us a like and subscribe. We are where you can find us. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the wild world of foreign animation this episode, baby. We got a lot to talk about. So, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And everyone's favorite Crazy Lemur, Bree.
Hello, I'm still recovering from watching the Taiwanese Dragon Ball movie.
And yeah, today we've got a packed show. Our feature presentation, we'll be talking about two feature films, Decorado and Labyrinth. But first, we have a lot of news to get to, but I want to talk about probably the biggest surprise of the day for me personally. We're finally getting that sequel to The Adventures of Tintin. Peter Jackson is...
I saw that. I was shook.
Yeah. Peter Jackson is writing and directing this one, and... man, I thought this day would never come.
Yeah, so this is all happening while Con is happening. When he was on stage, he was talking about how, I'm going to make a sequel to Tintin. I'm going to write it, going to direct it. Everyone got really excited right up until the point when the clips came up about him saying, I don't see what the big deal about AI is. And, sometimes I just feel like when a director or creative or actor get into a project like The Substance or just the world of animation and filmmaking in general, don't quite understand or are aware of their surroundings as much as they think they are. Seeing Park Chan-wook sitting next to Chloe Zhao and Demi Moore during the Cannes Film Festival conference, saying because last year when Wim Wenders, the director of the Oscar-nominated Perfect Days from 2024, was art and politics have no place for each other. They cannot be together. Doing the absolutely most pussyfoot coward bullshit he could do. While Park, being the absolute Chad that he is saying no, man, you can't separate art and politics. They are one and the same. Art is a response to the political climate or political beliefs of someone who's creating the show, the movie, or whatever. And then Demi Moore is just come on, guys, we can't be fighting against AI. It's here. We can't be against it. We're only going to be making more infighting. And it's just lady, you were in a movie that was all about being replaced by a new shiny model and the horrors and feelings of that being an older woman in Hollywood. AI is going to ruin art. It's going to try to replace people like you because they're going to be man, too bad we can't have 19-year-old Demi Moore. But with AI, we can. And it's just that's creepy. That whole Val Kilmer announcement of just we're using an AI-made Val Kilmer for this movie.
Ugh.
And it's just...
Did you see some of those trailer shots? They were so bad that even the Corridor crew guys were huh.
Yeah, even when the Corridor Digital crew are dunking on you, it's that's bad.
Yeah, that is really bad.
And it's just to say that, to see all this AI, especially that animated film that's made in Honduras right now, that kind of sprouted up during today, all over social media, where they're it took 15 years to make this movie and we finally got it done with AI, and now we're going to force schools to show it because AI is the future. To say all this when one of the most art-driven festivals, which has a rare no U.S. tentpole blockbuster screening of anything there, to say that, to make that announcement is so insulting to every artist known to mankind. Because I saw clips of that animated film and it looked freaking awful. Like, disgusting. The worst animation you will ever find. Because AI, just like the right-wing conservative nutjobs, cannot make art. It is a specifically human thing where you have to have empathy and sympathy for emotions in humans and the lives that we all live. You cannot make that or replicate it with AI.
No, you cannot.
Mm-hmm.
So it was so good that everyone was basically dunking on this thing, shaming that studio and shaming the people involved. Apparently, it was not even supposed to be all AI and such. It had artists who weren't paid well working on it. And it's just like, all this reminds me of is when I talked to the I Am Frankelda directors and producer at Animation is Film, talking about how Mexico does not have government-funded art grants or tax credits. Because, what's the one thing that people kind of keep forgetting about Australia? It loves its art grants and tax credits. Canada has its tax credits. France has its tax credits. Why do you think so many animated films from overseas are made and have like a bazillion credits in them where they're saying, this was made with the Belgium Art Fund? If that doesn't answer your question, then yeah, this is what pushes people to try to think AI is the end-all be-all because it takes advantage of global government and political economic backgrounds. So, sorry, I just had to get that out of my chest today. It's been a heck of a few days, and having to get over a sprained ankle is the worst because it just handicaps you to not being able to do a whole lot. And to see this dismissive nature towards art from big people and companies and studios, like there's literally a whole episode of Hacks that talks about this, saying like, but AI is going to make the job easier. One, AI has not made the job easier. It has actually done worse or made things worse for companies. It drains water, and it takes out the human element of crafting art, jokes, movies, shows, music. Like, the part of it is the struggle.
The struggle is what makes the art delicious. And also, you could tell who's worked with AI for 5 minutes and who hasn't. Because if you, even use something like ChatGPT to do simple shit, you have to, reprompt that shit several times, and you have to end up fixing, 90% of it anyway.
Exactly. So, and it's just so maddening because there are movies right now that are getting trailers that are playing at the Cannes Film Festival right now, like In Waves, which I shared that clip in a Facebook group, and I was aghast with how one person in that group was like, this looks bad. This is the end times. We're now back in the 80s in animation. And it's just like, no, you're mistaking cheap looking for simple animation and art direction. You don't have to like it, but to go on a end is nigh diatribe about the animation industry when you're not even focusing on or knowing of what's actually killing the animation industry, which is corporate greed and lack of greenlighting and trust and investment into the artists and creatives to make things for them that's not based off of an IP. And it's just like to see that clip look so cool and to see all the con receptions for it be extremely positive. It's like, I may have crashed out on that person by telling them that they're wrong, but they were wrong. And the fact that nobody has complained about the animation from the reviews I've seen proves my point.
Yeah.
And this is also the same time period where we got the Viva Carmen trailer, which is the new movie by the Chicken for Linda and the Girls Without Hands director, which is based off of the opera and of the same name. And it just looks amazing. This beautiful watercolor painted world. And for it to be a musical, and you can tell that this director is getting better. Their shots are getting more ambitious. They are getting more dynamic. There's more nuance and complexity to the shots. It just looks great. And then, of course, we can't talk about amazing animation trailers without bringing up the fact that we finally get a trailer, like a legit trailer for Wildwood.
Oh, it looks so good.
This is probably the most ambitious stop motion film I've seen from Leica. Like the amount of little details.
Yeah,
in the
like
models,
the stuff with the hair blew my mind.
They really want to go all the way out with this animation, and it looks amazing. And some people are like, "Oh, I wonder if some of it's going to be using CG." And it's like, yeah, I mean...
But that's been, like, forever. Even The Nightmare Before Christmas, I'm pretty sure, has, like, some CG compositing shots.
Like, I swear, people are so hell-bent on thinking the Richard Williams way of doing art is the only way animation can be done.
Without really understanding the pitfalls that come with doing that.
But especially with stop motion, this is incredibly stupid. Because originally, stop motion was, like, the CG of its time. So... if the main medium is stop motion and you're using CG to, like, composite an effect, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, no. So it's just like, and what would be so different about it using CGI if it needs to now? Because, hey, big surprise, spoiler alert, Kubo and the Two Strings use CGI.
So many other... I'm pretty sure use CGI.
Yeah, Missing Link did.
And it's gotten so good with CG, like, in terms of, like, rigging, you can even do a blender and, like, frame rates now, that you can easily, like, do CG in places that would be next to impossible to realistically hand animate with a puppet or a rig. And most people probably will never notice.
No, that's the thing. I don't think people did notice until you pointed out to them. Until... like, that's why Leica does all those little behind-the-scenes things, like, at the end of their movies to show you the handcrafted nature. And by the way, shout out to all the studios that are putting down made by the hands who made Coraline, or by the artists who made Into the Spider-Verse that was in all of the GOAT marketing. And because right now, with the threat of AI and how so many studios, even though they are, again, quietly admitting that it is fucking useless, are trying to replace the creatives with AI, it is important to remember that a lot of the art that you consume without ever thinking a second thought, or going deeper into what the movies or shows and games and music are talking about, are made by humans. Even the dumbest pop song, Justin Bieber, has more artistic merit than AI. Even Animal Farm, the Andy Serkis directed production hell train wreck, has more artistic merit to it than an AI made animated film.
Now that's saying something.
But man, it's just like we are in a deluge, an ocean of amazing animation getting made right now by all over the world, and now that we're slowly gaining more accessibility to it now because there are distributors like Netflix, G-Kids, Crunchyroll bringing it over, it's no longer just what's the most popular thing. This anime? This movie? Okay, let's bring it over. It's now just like, hey, people want to see French animated film. People want to see Japanese or Spanish animated films. Like, there are countries that are saying, like, yes, crafting art is an important part of our society. It's just so good and exciting to see stuff like Wildwood, or like Viva Carmen, or In Waves, or that clip of the animated film between USA and Canada, Tangles, which is dealing with like someone going through Alzheimer's. Is like, it looks beautiful. No, it doesn't move like a Don Bluth animated film, but it's going to have the emotional strength and power that an early Don Bluth project will.
And, you know, I'll say this about, like, look, I'm not gonna glaze Travis Knight, but I'm not gonna lie and say that he hasn't done the work, that he hasn't put great work in. Like, yeah, he's a trust fund baby, but, you know, he's clearly doing it for the love of the game. I don't think if he cares if Leica makes a dime. I mean, he has more money than God. Dude does not give a flying rat's ass. But honestly, I feel like there needs to be more Travis Knights out there that get it and getting their hands dirty and just understanding the process.
It's just like all these people, all these billionaires who are just trying to kill the earth and put everyone out of work so they can make more money. It's just like, what are you doing? You guys aren't going to take your money with you when you die. It's like money doesn't have a spirit. You're going to go 6 feet underground and your money is going to stay where it is. You're not some long-living smog dragon or whatever. You are just a greedy, inept human who has no empathy for human creativity. At least Travis Knight is just saying, yes, let's burn a bunch of money and get a lot of art award and industry recognition for what we do.
Oh, but here's the coolest thing about Wildwood. Apparently, no other distributors are interested in this, but Fathom, which has doubled the gross of Coraline's original theatrical run through its many re-releases, is like, yeah, we'll give it to us. We'll put this one out there.
This is an interesting direction change for Fathom, because I believe they're also doing the Digital Circus release too. So, which makes me wonder if maybe in their not too distant future, they're gonna look to expand beyond just doing limited run event films.
Well, I think that's what they should do, because who knows how much they spent to gain the rights to Wildwood, and they would want that to be out in theaters more instead of just 2 to 3 days, which I understand why that works for them, but it's also deeply frustrating being a film fan and being like, well, unless I'm a critic and I can get an access to a screener, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to see this. It's just interesting how Fathom, of all the studios, despite the fact that Laika brings in Oscar nominations, Annie nominations, even sometimes wins in Goodwill and Blu-ray sales through their movies, they're just like, no, we're not going to do it. But Fathom is like, you guys are dumb. Here, team up with us. We'll put you guys out in theaters. Here, come on. And seeing that release date, I think we're going to see it at Animation is Film. I have a guess. It's a theory. I feel like we're going to see it in some shape or form at Animation is Film.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's going to be a marquee since Laika was there last year.
And by the way, that was, like I said, back in the Animation is Film episode, that was a fun time to see Paranorman in a huge theater and such. Just perfect. But speaking of Fathom and the Amazing Digital Circus, it's time to spin our favorite wheel again.
It's time for everyone's favorite game show.
Bullshit!
That's right, Bree and Mike. It is time for another spin of the Wheel of Bullshit. Today's animation disappointment comes from the fandom around the Amazing Digital Circus, because they just can't take 2 brain cells to understand what is going on and how challenging foreign theatrical distribution is.
Can I just say one thing? I just would like to formally apologize to Has-Been Hotel fans and Helliverse fans. Y'all ain't that bad.
To quote Thanos, perhaps I judged you too harshly.
Yeah. So, for context, Glitch had to cut ties with a distributor in South Korea. And despite the fact that they are working extremely hard to make sure that the Amazing Digital Circus finale gets screened in as many countries and as wide as of a release as possible, they are still having hiccups here and there, which is understandable because foreign animation distribution is a hell of a challenge to get done because you have to jump through so many hoops. But does the Amazing Digital Circus fandom or indie animation fans or just animation fans in general understand this? No!
And here's the thing that I think people have kind of lost sight at. Glitch right now is going from... This is a big learning curve for them because...
Yeah, they're going through the growing pains. Up until 3 years ago, Glitch was just, a 1 million+ sub YouTube channel.
It's just like everyone is like forgets that, yeah, Glitch was like, I'm just a cool indie animation channel with Australian Art Fund grants, whoa, and millions of views because of Murder Drones and other projects. Now they're like, oh, we're a bigger company now. We gotta find a means to do this, and even if they're not handling it perfectly, like 100% to the point, people are being the worst that they can be towards this. And it's like, man, if you guys had the same anger of possibly not seeing a stupid cartoon in theaters, like if you had this same anger for the rest of the world and how it's on fire because of a bunch of rich pedophiles ruining the world,
World Conflict would be over in 2 weeks.
no, exactly. So it's like, animation fandom is a mistake, as usual. Again. They even went as far to be like, oh, whoa, look at this job hiring on Glitch. The head of PR, yeah, they're going to need it right now. And it's like, or. And shout out to all the animators who work in the like main industry for calling out bad fandom bullshit. Because they're like, or they realize that they're a much bigger company now and they need a PR person. That's not new or uncommon to happen where it's like, okay, we're big enough, let's get a PR person.
I mean, God forbid Kevin and Co. act like fucking adults.
Right?
Because if I had my way, for every name I saw on Twitter or online complaining about this, sending harassment, docs, death threats, whatever, because they can't see their precious cartoon in theaters and they'd have to wait a gasp 2 weeks before it hits YouTube, I would say ban them. Fuck it. Ban them. Say they like, oh, you bought a ticket? Well, sorry, that's the theater's money now. You don't get to go see the Amazing Digital Circus. Some of these people are probably going to be like the same people who are going to go in, record on a shitty camera the whole finale, and then upload it online. Because that's what these people have more focus on and priorities. It isn't making sure that the WB Paramount merger doesn't go through. It's because I want to see the Avatar movie. Or I want to see the Amazing Digital Circus movie.
And you know what so much of it is, too? And I actually had this conversation with a colleague the other day. Is that so much of, like, the internet, especially of, like, fandom drama, so much of it happens because a lot of it is just contained to online. It's not like, say, you know, watching football every Sunday where, yeah, there is an online component to it, but you have, like, a physical meeting space or, like, a consistent schedule for when, like, everything's, you know, when the game is or, like, something is uploaded. There isn't really as much of that IRL community aspect to it. And if any of them, like, tried to do that stupid shit in real life, people would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And so much of the internet is that there's really no consequences for really shitty behavior. Because, like, what, you get banned? You'll just make a sock account or just, you know, use a VPN. There's, like, no actual consequences unless you actually do, like, terrorisms or something. And it's just so frustrating.
Yeah. And the problem is I don't know really what the solution is unless it's like, you know, in a private setting like a Facebook group. At least then, yeah, you can ban people from the group, but then, like you said, they can just come back in a burner account. I do wish that consequences were more permanent for bad faith actors.
It's going to be funny because some of these people who are causing so much hell for Glitch making some honest-to-God mistakes are going to be the same people who are going to be so excited when or if Matt Braley's revived animated film gets put into production and he gets to actually direct it and such. So it's just like, let's move on because who cares about these fans? They're the worst. They are a mistake. They need their phones, their computers, their iPads, whatever, taken away from them. They need to be put into a cabin in the woods and kept there until they learn.
Yeah, they need to go bankrupt.
I love that. But that is the other big news before we get to the movie side of discussion side of things is that Matt Braley's canceled movie, what was it called again?
I think it was like Afterworld? Afterworld.
So a Thai studio called Monk Studio has picked up the rights to Matt Braley's, what was going to be a Sony Pictures animated film with Rebecca Sugar working on it. Like, the rights are now owned by Monk Studios in Thailand, and they have worked on stuff from Wish Dragon to Neza 2. They've worked on quite a lot of stuff, all things considered. It's a talented studio. This isn't like some no-name, nobody studio that just happened to swoop in and buy the rights for cheap and it will turn into like cryptocurrency or whatever. Or AI pig swill, which they've promised, no, we're not going to use AI. Which, good. Keep pushing back against AI, which most people are, unless they are a celebrity who went to an AI luncheon and was fed a bunch of bullshit. When Matt Braley announced this, when he was like, hey, by the way, I have some news about this tomorrow. And it's just like, part of me was a little cynical in thinking it was just going to be turned into a comic book. Like, it's like, what? It's getting revived. I'm sure it's going to be revived by, like, Netflix or whatever. It's probably going to be a graphic novel or whatever. But no. They are going to they're at Cannes and they're going to go to Annecy and they're going to try to get this movie made. And while Matt Braley is working on his Claire in the Below miniseries, they said, like, hey, if we can get this done, can we have you write and direct the movie again? And he said, if I'm not working on this and after I'm done, yes, I will. So it might take a few more years, depending on how things go. But his movie's back. When has that ever happened? With all the studios that are canceling everything, writing things off for tax reasons, or it getting leaked online. Like, well, when is there ever a happy ending for this kind of stuff?
I think the closest example we have to something like this is Nimona, which we almost didn't have because of Blue Sky shutting down. But then a new team came in like, you know what, we're going to finish where Blue Sky left off. And then we got that movie I can't believe it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, oh my god, 2023 was 3 years ago. Holy crap.
And it was Oscar nominated, baby.
I still think it should have won, but that's just me.
Well, honestly, outside of Elemental, any one of those movies deserved to win. So, like, congrats to Matt Braley. He did thank the people who talked about it, who said, like, hey, Sony, fuck you for being weirdly uninterested in your own ambitious animation goals now. Because, again, it's so funny. Sony was like, we're going to change and evolve animation like nothing has been done before. And now they're like, I don't think I like what we're making now. Well, everyone else is like, no, keep it. No, put it out. And then you get, K-pop Demon Hunters winning everything in the world with a global tour now happening. And Sony is just like, we're not going to get any of that money, are we? The industry is in a weird, bad place right now. Which, to those people who think we don't complain, like I don't complain about it, we complain about it so much. Let's talk about some movies! Huzzah! The meaty part of this podcast, because we were going to talk about 3 movies. It became 4, and then it came down to 2, because after watching Swapped and the reincarnated as a slime movie, Tears of the Azure Sea, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, I think so.
It was just like, you know what, there's not a whole lot to say about the reincarnated as a slime movie. It's a franchise film from an isekai power fantasy that has a cast that's way too big now, that's not going to matter in the long run of the show. So any development that happens there going to sadly not matter at any point within the rest of the show's run. And it's just fun. It was just fine.
Yeah, it was just fun. Like, if you remember, like, those early 2000s Shonen Jump Time movies, I mean, it's basically just that.
It just doesn't have the flair that the last theatrical movie had. Like, the last one looked like a movie. This one just looks like a slightly fancier OVA. And it's not that it didn't have anything that I didn't like about Reincarnated as a Slime, because it had the geopolitical stuff where, yeah, Rimuru, you can't just lollygag and go on vacation, where people using their corrupt power and positions in politics are going to try to frame you as a horrible person and say everything that has happened to their people is on you. Gee, it's like you have to have a lot of responsibility being a demon lord now, or something like that. It makes you wonder what happened. But it had its fun moments. The second half is way better than the first half because, unfortunately, the main character is the comedic sidekick goblin character, and he's really annoying. But they do like a tragic romance of they can't be together, and it's just like, okay.
I've literally seen this anime movie at least 3 different times.
It's the Cars 2 issue of anime films where this comedic side character gets the focus, and that's a big problem. Because the big problem with power fantasies in general is the fact that, again, we talked about this hundreds of times, where the main character can snap his finger and kill God, there's no stakes. There's nothing interesting to go on. What are the goals? What are the conflict and challenges for them to get over? Not how many ladies can I have in my harem, which... Unfortunately, if you are new to Reincarnated as a Slime franchise, it looks like a harem isekai, which it's not. And again, it's one of those first ones out the door, but now it's stagnating while others are trying their best to make the isekai genre more interesting. With Swapped, listen, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're going to say some hard truths here.
I'm the only one who watched it, so I didn't feel comfortable talking about it for a section of the episode, because otherwise I would have had Mike and Bree suffer through it with me. But even if this is the best that Skydance can do right now, and the fact that it is a viewing hit on Netflix, because there's literally no other competition out right now, so what else are families going to do? Because they're not going to take their kids to see Super Mario again. Or they're just going to rent Hoppers again. So...
They should see the Sheep Detectives.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's good. I'm still trying to get to it. That and Devil Wears Prada too. You know, one's for the girls.
So, here's the thing about Swapped. It is not a bad movie because Hoppers came out. Swapped is a bad movie because Skydance Animation has a limited amount of ambition with what kind of stories they want to tell. Which is disappointing because on a technical level, they're getting better. This movie looks way better. Now, that could be a backhanded compliment depending on how you look at it. Compared to their last movies, Luck and Spellbound, which were just mediocre whatever movies. There are at least a few moments within Swapped where they don't have any dialogue. They just do visual storytelling and it's quiet. And it's actually kind of nice. It's like, oh, this is pretty okay. And it's not like you can't do a mile in the other person's shoes story. That's, like, the problem here is a lack of quality. It's not a lack of formula, because it's formulaic as heck. You know who the twist villain is, because there are very few characters in this movie that stand out as much as Tracy Morgan's character. And it just, the dialogue is not there. This thing could have Pixar-level quality animation, but the story will still suck.
And, you know, I'm going to say things that even among us is probably going to be really unpopular to say. But, honestly, I don't think anyone should really expect anything great out of Skydance. Not now, probably not in the foreseeable future, because at its foundation, in my opinion, as a studio, Skydance is kind of flawed. And honestly, I feel like Skydance especially is suffering from like a lot of the same industry problems that Disney right now is going through and being just kind of mediocre for the most part. And I think a lot of it has to do with the people behind these movies.
Yeah, like there's just a ceiling to what this studio is capable of, and as much as I'm theoretically looking forward to Brad Bird's Ray Gun, I still don't know if that movie is going to be what even he envisioned back when he was first developing that 20 years ago.
Speaking of 20 years ago, like, here's the thing. I think so many of the studio's problems, especially with Skydance and Disney, is that a lot of the people behind these movies are older veterans, and I'm not saying that older folks in the industry don't have a place. That's ridiculous. I think their expertise, especially now, is needed when so much of the craft and mastery of skills is just not being taught, and a lot of stuff with job creep, you don't have people as specialized in those positions, and that's invaluable information to teach to newer animators. But I feel like so many of them are just stuck making movies how they would in the 90s and early 2000s. If you look at Sony and, something, like K-pop Demon Hunters, I think probably on the majority of that crew, like, the oldest person there was 40.
The thing is, and I find this so ironic, because Skydance has, like, ex-animation legend John Lasseter, who, in an interview, said, like, the importance is not that you had the fanciest graphics or the biggest actors. It comes down to the story. Some studios will say, like, well, like, a new movie will come out and it'll have this special camera that they can do this. And a studio will be like, I see now. We gotta use that camera and our movies will be instantly good. And it's like, no, that's not the point. Skydance is running on that latter logic. Oh, we have one of the directors of Shrek. Oh, we have one of the directors of Tangled. Oh, we got Brad Bird for this one project. Does that mean your movie is going to instantly be good? No. Spellbound had an atrocious ending, which was symbolically supposed to be about a child living through her parents going through a system of divorce. And then it's just like, it just makes everything worse with how it ended, because it's like, yeah, we're all living together. My parents are living in 2 different towers in the same castle now, but we're happy. And it's like, that's a horrifying lesson.
I will never forget, because I still haven't watched Skybound other than, like, some clips I saw at Lightbox Expo. But I remember being in a group chat with my screenwriter class, and, like, my screenwriting teacher, like, dissecting it, and I'm in a hotel room, like, Thanksgiving at 2 a.m. I'm like, damn it, I should really be asleep. But I am, like, so engaged in this conversation right now, actually breaking down what is wrong with this movie. But,
So it's just like, Skydance is not going to get better until they actually put in the legwork, which unfortunately is not going to happen as long as tired, archaic John Lasseter and human-made scumbags, the Ellisons, are involved. And I think getting rid of either of them will be maybe a step, but it won't solve anything. Because then they would need to actually let the creatives cook, which apparently from hearsay, like on the grapevine discussions, Skydance has the same issues that Pixar has, where John Lasseter is controlling, doesn't let anything go through without his approval, and then just...
To kind of go back to your earlier point about, like, getting all these big names, I'm not sure if you two are the biggest sports fans, but just to kind of put in sports terms, it's like when you get, like, the really big player with, like, a bit, big name who's a little bit past his prime, and you want to put asses in seats. So, ownership would be like, that'll fix it, and then you give him, like, this big albatross contract. and then he just kind of ends up being mid or just downright fucking, like, is cooked, and then you're, like, just kind of stuck with it. That's what this kind of feels like.
It's just distracting as heck, because it's like, I don't think any other studio right now boasts about getting big talent like Skydance does. Because I think they're desperate for it, because Skydance doesn't have the greatest reputation in Hollywood and in the animation industry.
Oh yeah, no. It totally reeks of desperation.
And unfortunately, it just shows that, like, yeah, Brad Bird had to go to Skydance and John Lasseter to get his movie made, because the rest of the studios are like, I don't know if people want this, despite the fact that people want stuff like Ray Gunn. I just don't get this studio industry, man. It's so frustrating beyond belief, because people do want different movies. Like, Decorado and Labyrinth are good examples of this. Because Decorado might be the most cynical animated movie of the year so far. Might be the darkest. Though Labyrinth kind of gives it a run for its money in some regards. But what an amazing movie. Like, it's not my favorite animated film, but it's probably going to stay in my top 10 for the rest of the year, depending on how things go.
I mean, I think I liked it initially more than you, because if you couldn't tell, that sometimes I'm just a little bit cynical.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I don't know what you're talking about. Alberto Vázquez's Decorado is about a mouse who is struggling to find work in a totalitarian town that is overrun by a giant megacorporation, Alma, which I think is like the almighty, limitless megacorporation agency, is what it was called. And he's starting to wonder, is my world in life real? Is this real? Or is this, just like the name of the movie implies, is this a decorado? Which means stage. And it is a Truman Show-esque, like, mystery thriller with a bit of horror in it as well. It's a super compelling movie to watch. Like, you might have to be in the right mindset to watch it, but it is a movie that you will not forget. It is exactly what people are saying they want, but then don't actually watch.
Like, there's a character called the Depression Fairy. Like, if that doesn't sell you immediately, I don't know what will.
And the fact that it just looks like the black and white Tinkerbell reference, like, images from when Disney made Peter Pan. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember when I first saw, like, images of this movie, like, way back, like, a few years ago, like, after Unicorn Wars came out. I thought it was like a parody on Disney. It's easy to do that because you can say that the main characters are Mickey and Minnie, and then the duck is, Donald Duck. Or like the CEO of Alma is, what's the evil
Mortimer Mouse.
Yeah, Mortimer Mouse. And yet, it is dark, it is cynical, it is mean-spirited, and how, yeah, living in a world where a mega corporation runs everything, sees all, owns all, including the police, is a horrifying nightmare world to live in. Gee, it's not like that right now in the real world. What did y'all think about this movie?
I was a big fan, but I'm already someone who just absolutely adores Alberto Vázquez's artistic vision. But even this, I don't think this is quite as dark as Unicorn Wars, but it still has his trademark like heavy adult themes that, like you said, you really kind of have to be in the right mood to get into this, but it'll be a good time.
I think we just need to normalize just having fucked up animation, and I don't mean like in the adult animation, like, just be gory and graphic just to be shocking, but just have stuff that is legitimately fucks with your mind. And I feel like Decorado is a more approachable version of that it like kind of starts out and it gradually gets you, and it's not just full on in your face.
I mean, it's like an uncanny sense of dread because you are wondering alongside our main character, what is this world? Is it fake? And there's that giant owl that is like the owl from The Secret of Nim. Yeah. Where he says, the world is a beautiful stage with a deplorable cast, which is so accurate. And if you are into Alberto Vázquez's movies, like Bird Boy or Unicorn Wars, it has a lot of the same dark humor also. Its horror is not jump scare driven. It's more dread.
It's more psychological.
Yeah, if you're into like movies like Exit 8 and such, it's like you're in for that kind of trip because it's not about avoiding a slasher or a monster of some kind, a literal monster.
Yeah, I would say maybe it's like, more Black Swan or its superior predecessor, Perfect Blue.
Because the villain is conformity. And it is very much about how there are people in this world who are going to try to manipulate you into conforming with society. Don't look beyond the forest. Don't move away from your jobs. Don't do anything bad. Take your happy pills, which is literally, like, say what you will about wanting nuance in your movies. The fact that the pill bottle says happiness on it is very much reminds me of that indie video game We Happy Few. I don't know if y'all ever heard about it.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, I think I've heard of it too.
It's basically that, like after World War II just decimated everything in the UK, this totalitarian tyrannical government was like, just take your happy pills. Be happy. Ignore the horrors of war that have been brought upon us by our own actions and consequences. Just take your happy pill.
And you know what, Cameron? I had a question for you. About the owl, like what did you interpret it as? Because I'm kind of curious what your answer is.
It's interesting. I don't think the owl is inherently evil, but because it's like he will, under the hand of the government, kill people like that one mouse that then comes back as a ghost. But he seems to be like a warning sign of like, be careful about what results you bring with your actions and such. Like, what did you take away from it?
So I kind of took away, like, I'm not sure, like, I was more under the interpretation that the owl was more the one kind of, like, running the show. Like, I don't necessarily think it was being controlled by the government. Like, I kind of took it, the owl was more kind of, like, God or, like, death.
I could see that. Like, I mean, it's very easy to see that because especially with what happens to one of the rat characters dies horribly from it.
That death was pretty gruesome.
But yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. You don't see the owl a whole lot. He just kind of looms and is ominous. It's like, don't go out into the forest or else the owl will get you. It's very much like the Seventh Seal version of death, or how, like in Japan, there are like signs around water areas saying like, hey, watch out playing around the water, the kappa might get you. It's like the owl was kind of used for that as a means of warning. But yeah, I think there's a way to look at it as the omnipresent looming shadow of death that looms over all. And I mean, like, this movie, it's funny. Alberto Vázquez has both extremely nuanced, like, symbolic metaphors in this movie, and downright fucking blunt. That, like, for example, in Bird Boy, the female mouse daughter is dealing with the fact that her father died in a factory explosion, and the new dad is basically I forgot if it was like a mouse wearing a human mask or a human wearing a mouse mask, but it's like, it's both symbolic of you're trying to take the place of my dad, but you're just someone else wearing my dad's face. But it's also extremely literal. A new man is taking over your dad's place with a mask, trying to be like, yes, I am now your dad. So, like, Alberto is unapologetic with his movies.
Very few filmmakers can kind of like walk that line between nuance but also blunt imagery the way he does.
And there are just like some dark jokes in there, like when our main character visits his chicken friend in jail, and he's just like, "Hey, I got you some wings." And it's just like Scrooge's nephews and Webby feeding ducks, and they are ducks, and we are the alien being like, "What the fuck?" So it's like, what's so good about the movie is especially with the fact that the duck character, who on paper is this amazing, like, old school celebrity who fell on hard times because the mega corporation threw him out after he hit his usefulness. And yet you start picking up that something is not right with this world when the fact that our duck character is wearing a suit and showing people houses and being all corporate because you know what he did? He conformed to society. And it wasn't even like a shift. It was all a long con of he would try to get sympathy from people at being this crazy homeless person, while then getting out of that get up to then conform people to like, here, come to this obviously prison-like neighborhood home project. You're going to live here and work at the company because Alma owns all. Even like that mushroom character that we encounter, it like you don't see him for a little bit in the movie, and yet his children are like, one of his kids works at Alma, and it's this cycle of darkness.
And also, I love the little semi-cannibalism going on there of him and his kids.
Oh yeah, it's like, dirt soup. Well, I'm sorry that we can't eat anything else. Just eat yourself. Maybe it'll make the dirt soup taste better. And it's like, Jesus. Which you could go in a lot of different directions for that. Or how the head of the Alma Corporation, or at least the CEO of it, not the people who actually run the company, ruined our main character's lives because he wanted to get his dick wet with the wife, and how the wife struggles through metaphorical and literal depression. Like, literally, there's a fairy called Depression that follows her around, and how it's just like, I'm going to be here forever. I'm stuck with you. It's such a cool, interesting movie. But I'll say this. I think even though this movie is dark and cynical and incredibly mature and heavy, I do think there is an optimistic perspective to it. Like, I mean, it tries to at least have love and trust can help you push through to take down these like hierarchies that are ruining everything for everyone else. Even if the final shot of the movie is everyone succumbing to conformity of, hey, it might be a stage, but it's our stage.
I think you brought up when we were watching it how that ending is pretty similar to the ending to Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, where it still ends in a not great place, but there is an air of hope and optimism to what the movie is trying to achieve.
Yeah, like, yes, it's your stage, but that's the thing, it's your stage. You push and change what you can to incite change and what have you. But I mean, that's how I see it, because otherwise it's just, his movies are now 2 out of 3 end on very dark notes. With Unicorn Wars, everyone dies in the movie, and then it just, all the blood and gore and bodies amalgamate into man, the source of all evil and violence in the world. And it's like, okay. I mean, like, Brie, what do you think about the ending? And do you think there is an optimistic way of looking at the story and how it unfolds?
Well, I guess if you were to interpret anything as positive, maybe acceptance isn't like the worst thing. Instead of just being in denial of it. Like, I know that kind of sounds grim, but by the end of that, they are, like, all a community. And, you know, the idea of, like, look, if we're gonna be stuck here and suffer through, like, the motions forever, at least we'll have each other.
Yeah, like it's not like in a way of like how Good Luck Have Fun Don't Dies ends. It ends on, well, the AI found a way to get one over the good guys, even though the good guys should have triumphed overall. It ends with Sam Rockwell going back and getting that young woman again and saying, "We're gonna go save the world this time. We're gonna do it again, no matter how much society pushes us down. We're gonna get back up, and we're going to keep living and keep fighting." And there are notes of that in Decorado, I think. And just how, like, people find escapism through, like, art and, to some degree, drugs. Because, like, well, it's interesting because in the world of Decorado, there's this devil character who sits there, like, in the pond area and kills anything that comes close. But he says, I use art as an escape through the sadness of just the world closing around me. And what was that line about piracy that it had? Like, Brie, you were floored by that line. I think it was pretty damning about piracy, or just kind of like, oh, wow, the irony.
I think the line was something to the degree of corporations, like, have money. Oh, God, I wish I remembered exactly what it was. But I think it was something along the lines of, like, piracy hurts the corporation.
Even though the corporation has more money than God.
Oh, you know what it was? It was the scene with I think the cops were involved, and they're like, how dare you use piracy? You hurt the poor little corporation.
Yeah, because that's how corporations see piracy. They see it as a threat. Because they just want you to ignore the bad things happening. Just consume. Go see the next Marvel movie. Go see the next Star Wars movie. Consume, consume. Don't pirate us. You're an enemy to the state. And it's just like, calm down. No, so it's like, it's a really compelling, really interesting movie that is really good. It's one of those ones where, yeah, at first I was like, I don't know if I like the darkness of this ending. But then, the more I think about it, it's like, God, that movie was really good. Just, it's got so much to think about, which is something that you can say about certain studios like Skydance. The moment you finish watching Swapped, you're done watching that movie. You're never going to pick it back up.
Out of your brain, like, boop.
Yeah, but movies like Decorado and Labyrinth, they stay in your mind forever. In fact, I'm pretty sure the night that we watched Labyrinth, I had some nightmares based on like the imagery in that movie.
So if Labyrinth was by the creator of Macross Plus and the Vision of Escaflowne, one of the few isekais that is actually really freaking good. Shōji Kawamori. And this whole movie is about a young girl named Shiori who wants to become a influencer because she thinks her friend is so much better at it, so more showy, like more optimistic. She's like shy and timid and does judo, where she accidentally broke a boy's arm when she was young, but we'll get to that later. Until she finds herself going viral, and then through her cracked phone finds herself in a twisted Silent Hill-esque digital world where you lose your identity and become a sticker that are used in text chats and emojis and all that stuff, while a version of Shiori is gallivanting around the real world and being who Shiori wants to put out there, like herself out as. Because the whole movie is about the online presence you put out there and like who you are and who is the person you put out online. Because sometimes some people are really nice and cool online, but in real life they are like the worst people. But here, like, that's what this movie dances around with. Like, does she already really want to be this outgoing, outspoken, bubbly, airheaded idol girl? And what are the consequences? The consequences of online stardom? Because boy howdy, are there so many red flags of like the online Shiori being like, here, I'm allowing anyone to use my image for whatever they want. And it's like, oh no!
No. Oh, no.
No, you are like 16 or 17 years old.
I think they said she was 17.
Yeah, you do not want to know what men are going to do with your image. That's scary. Like, no. You copyright your look, and you make sure nobody uses it in any disgusting ways. Especially now that we have the owner of Twitter basically saying, yeah, my AI makes child pornography and it's cool as hell. And it's just like, fuck. What terrible timeline we live in here, folks. But we find that Shiori tries to escape and learn about herself. It's like a coming-of-age sci-fi horror story where she teams up with a rabbit sticker who still has his identity and the dangers of J-pop idol stuff. I was thinking that's what it was going to be, especially with the fact that this was made by the creator of Macross, who, Macross is that franchise where you fly out in jet, like realistic aircraft jets that transform into robots, and pop idols are used as like, your inspirational muses of like, I'm going to fight better because of her singing and whatever. I was not expecting this movie to basically be digital age, internet era Silent Hill. Again, dread-based psychological horror than like an actual legit monster and such. For example, we have one of the characters, I would say he's the kind of antagonist, or maybe the antagonist of the film, this young man who was trying to do something good in the world by making an online media world where you can be the real you. You can be what you want to be. And to help people be who they want to be. But because of how the media portrays it, it sounded extremely creepy. Because they do imply that there were maybe some stalking or harassment attempts. And what happens to the creator, spoilers, is the fact that he gets lost in his own digital world, while the real world is his doppelganger, but the one that the media incarnated and such.
Yeah, Captain Stranger Danger, as I call him.
Yeah, because it's just like, oh, God. Even if it does kind of jump into pop idol commentary about the dangers of how young women in idol work can be taken advantage of, yeah, it still happens, folks. It's not good. And Shiori's doppelganger is like, I don't see the problem. This guy's helping me become a huge star. Why not go alone into his bedroom?
Yeah. Definitely felt uncomfortable watching a lot of that.
Like, it is a deeply uncomfortable movie, but it does play around with some of the tropes and twists that come with, like, the dangers of online fandom and stardom, where you find out that Shiori's friend was actually not the popular one. It was Shiori. And her friend did all this stuff out of desperation to become big. And that's kind of thing. Like, unfortunately, right now we live in a world where a lot of young people are willing to do stupid stuff online or to be incredibly terrible people. But it brings in the views, it brings in the ad revenue and money and sponsorship deals, so what's the harm? Even though there's a lot of harm in losing yourself. Not just the self you put out there, but your true self. And the fact that the online digital world is not like Belle or Summer Wars, where Belle and Summer Wars had their own, like, flawed but hopeful incarnations of the internet.
No, this is just like the internet's all bad here.
It's basically if someone took the dead internet theory and made it into a living,
I was just about to say that.
Like a digital world of all the people who get sucked into the world are turned into stickers because they're like, yeah, you lost your own identity, bam. And the press that turns you into a sticker is so graphic. Like the blood, there's blood. Like the fact that you just see dark silhouettes of people when the press comes down and crushes them and all the blood spews out. That's it's a disturbing image. There's a lot of nightmare fuel with this movie, even if it could be absolutely goofy as heck with its anime bullshit in the third act. Like there's a giant mecha fight. Because why not? It's the guy who made Escaflowne. He's allowed one mecha fight. What did y'all think about this movie? Because I was genuinely surprised by it. I was thinking this was going to be a G-Kids filler film until they could get the Annecy pickups.
No, this is anything but filler. This is like you do have like the anime bullshit in the third act, but it's warranted because of Shōji's background, but also, you know, this is all taking place kind of in the digital space, so you know there's some internal logic behind it, but also it just looks cool.
Yeah, it just looks cool. I think it's like, half the time when I write stuff, I'm like, I try to make a reason for stuff, but also I just write stuff, I'm like, that would look really fucking cool.
That should just be allowed more often in storytelling. Yeah, logic is fine, logic is good, but sometimes moving images just look cool.
Well, it's like dream logic or emotional logic works much better for movies. Like one of my favorite movies that I've watched recently is called Made in Heaven, and an Alan Rudolph movie. And it is built extremely on dream logic. You cannot take that movie seriously unless you are willing to let the emotional dream logic take over. And it's not like it's a vapid movie. It's got its own deep symbolic elements that makes it a cult classic. And that's what I like about Labyrinth and Decorado. Because otherwise it's like, yeah, you could nitpick everything to death, but that makes you a miserable little toad if that's what your goal in life with intaking movies and art is. If you're just going to be like, why are their shoes red? Why not blue? Ding!
Yeah, big ding. And also, the other thing you hear is me shoving you into a trash can.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's that scene from Parks and Rec where Nick Offerman takes his entire computer and throws it in a dumpster. Or, as usual, the famous iconic sequence in any Fresh Prince of Bel-Air scene where Jeff gets thrown out the door, just like, ah! But I was also surprised about the fact that this movie uses mostly CGI animation. I was thinking it was 2D with maybe some CGI here and there, but it's mostly a CGI film.
Yeah, the CGI animation's, well done. I mean, I kind of, it was a few minutes in, I got it because a lot of, these idol anime use CG, so it's like, okay, we're just fully committing to the bit. Okay.
Yeah, and it kind of runs on, the fragmented frame rate look of thing. Not like Spider-Verse or GOAT, limited frame rate rates. It's more just stylistic, decision-making frame rates, where even though it's CGI, you could use motion capture. And they probably do. I think they do for, the judo sequences and such. And there are some 2D elements in the overall product, but it's mostly CGI with, a stylish take on, frame rate animation and such. And I like the little, the use of stickers, because at one point, sometimes you're just like, yeah, I'm going to put a GIF to represent how I'm feeling. And it's like, well, is that how you want to represent yourself? And then, that was the whole dangers of this world. You lose yourself. Or how the main villain is like, don't worry, any haters, I will just delete them and send them to the digital world. And it's like, I'm sorry, you're doing what? And first off, if you are seeing any hate and you decide to delete, or any legit criticism for your work, and your goal is in your decision is, I'm going to delete the comments. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's
people
bad.
People pick up on that fast, and they won't trust you for any future endeavors.
Yeah,
Two,
like unless it's egregious that it's like actual bullying, like just leave it alone.
Just roll your eyes, move on, have a banana or something like that.
Exactly.
And it's just like, it's a cool way to look at humans' relationships with online media culture, which is so funny because we just watched recently a Mamoru Hosoda movie that didn't feel like a Mamoru Hosoda movie at points, whereas Labyrinth feels like another step into the Mamoru Hosoda's online world commentary universe.
Yeah, like this does feel in conversation with Summer Wars and Belle. It's not exactly a 1v1 of those two movies, but it does feel like it's standing on those shoulders.
Because like Summer Wars was all about the optimism and power of the internet, with making sure that the dangers of it are kept under control. Whereas Belle is all about how you can make a version of yourself on the online world, but there's also the dangers of the online world around you and how quick people are through a online persona or mask, per se, to do heinous stuff or do like, oh, I'm going to be a self-righteous jackass online. But I'm only able to do that because I'm online. If I was doing this in person, no, I wouldn't be that same person. Here, it's just like the dangers of like of identity, like you're losing yourself in the online world. And Bree, you are more familiar with this than Mike and I. You want to talk about the idol group that helped out with this project?
Yeah. Atarashi Gakko, aka the Goats. I love my weird little Zoomer ladies. I showed Cameron the music video for Pineapple Kryptonite. Another one I'd recommend is watching their music video for Tokyo Calling. Like, honestly, they are like the Weird Al Yankovic of K-pop, of J-pop idol groups. That's the best way I could describe Atarashi Gakko.
Okay, now I am immediately interested.
I know that exactly, because and maybe it's a bad way to intake J-pop idol like intake and stuff with anime and such, but every time you see anime portray J-pop, it's always like this bubblegum, like saccharine crap. But here with this group, Bree, you showed me that.
Yeah, their stuff's very hard. Like, their sound honestly kind of leans more towards hyper pop than like bubblegum pop.
Right, and the fact that in the Japanese dub of this movie, the main singer of that group plays Shiori and such. And like, this is just a cool movie. I like it. I was shocked to see how negative of a reception it got on Letterboxd. Like, it leans more mixed to negative than positive. And I'm just like, not that I probably won't find a legit, reasonable negative review, but I feel like people just don't know what they wanted when they went into this, because I didn't know what it was. So, and then finally watching it, it's like, oh, well, this is great. I very much like this movie. It's tough. I think my only nitpick is it's a little long in the tooth.
Like, honestly, I think if they cut out like 15 minutes, it would be a lot tighter.
Yeah.
Because it's like the other side characters are kind of whatever. The boy who helps them out is kind of funny at times. And the Shiori's friend is kind of just there. The parents are just kind of there, despite the dad having a outrageous either nose hair or mustache.
And isn't he voiced by Patrick Seitz in the English dub?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just like, oh, and shout out to that one teacher that they have where they thought that Shiori was locked in the bathroom and dealing with a stalker. that old man is just like, well, okay, kids, let's try to hopefully see if you listen to my lesson today. But no, he ran into that bathroom.
Teacher of the year.
Like, ready to take down any creepy stalker. But I did love that line when they were in the classroom where he's just like, okay, kids, this is what this part is about, even though I know all of you are on your phones and only 3 of you are actually listening. It's like, wow! Teacher of the year indeed.
Yep.
But yeah, so, like, here, this is why foreign animation is important to cover in the world of animation. There's only so much you can take away from US animation. And again, we wouldn't have talked long about Swapped or Reincarnated as a Slime because those movies just don't offer much. If you have to go beyond your anime and US comfort zones to find movies like Decorado and Labyrinth. And G-Kids and Fathom events, you guys need to put these out in longer releases. I understand if these are not the most popular ones or your big plans, but you're also going to put out Godzilla -0 later this year. Whatever losses you...
Yeah, you're going to make an ass ton of money this year.
You're going to make a Godzilla-sized amount of money this year. So, like, take a bigger risk of making sure people get to see these movies. Or people will have to try to contact their theaters to tell them, hey, I want to see this movie at your theater. Or something like that. Because I've seen a lot more G-Kids releases this year because they showed up at my Alamo. I just wish they were bigger. So
Same.
But yeah, it's like, these are the substantial experiences in animation that we're always looking for. There's a reason why we made a whole episode about Allegro non troppo. So, like, whatever happens with the US animation side of things, we're just going to be more interested in, like, Another World, the Chinese, or the Hong Kong animated feature coming out in a few weeks, or I Am Frankelda, then, like, hopefully it's still good, but, you know, Toy Story 5. So, well, it's like, again, go see these movies, even if they're on Tubi, if they're on Netflix, Prime, Peacock, Crunchyroll, whatever. Just take a step and make that journey and such. Because if you want to see your online intake of animation change, you just got to take that step on that stage. Because it's your stage, man. Take control of it.
Exactly.
We're going to be taking a few weeks off because we're all going to be hella busy. Like, I'm going to be traveling and such. So, I don't know what our next episode's going to be. We're probably going to do Another World and The Amazing Digital Circus. And I think I Am Frankelda comes out around that same time too, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, but until then, Bree, where can everyone find you online?
Well, if you wish to find me on the social media platforms, you can follow me on Blue Sky at Crazy Lemur, .bsky.social. I'm also on Instagram at LemursRule1, and also Lead Crap is now on RenegadePopCulture.com. I have all of our past 35 episodes backlogged, and our latest episode, episode 36, dealing with the 1991 unofficially licensed Dragon Ball movie, Dragon Ball The Magic Begins, is on there now. I laughed a lot. It is a very dumb movie. I recommend watching it on YouTube, but also please listen to it on our podcast.
Hell yeah. And Cameron, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at camsiview.biz. I have my own website called camsiview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I am a contributor to Media Magpies, your new one-stop shop for pop culture and film and TV media discussions. I have a new editorial coming out about the recent Oscar Best Acting change rules. It's going to be called Dr. Oscars, or How I Stopped Worrying About the New Actor Oscar Rule. So make sure to check it out there. And like when it's published, of course. which will probably be by the time this comes out. And I have a Patreon at patreon.com/CamsIView. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us at Twitch at twitch.tv/Renegade Pop Culture. YouTube at youtube.com/Renegade Pop Culture or Organite Zero. You can also find us on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.